Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. US President Donald Trump slaps sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies. Ukrainian President Zelensky calls the sanctions very important for a ceasefire. EU leaders too welcome the new energy sanctions against Moscow. President Putin directs drills of Russian nuclear forces as his summit with Donald Trump is put on hold. The maneuvers involve all parts of Moscow's nuclear triad, says Kremlin. Israel's Knesset's moves on West Bank annexation a threat to Gaza deal, says US Secretary of State Marco Rubio as US steps up Gaza diplomacy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend the ASEAN Summit virtually congratulates Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim on ASEAN chairship for the year 2025. And in cricket, India sets 265-run target for Australia in a must-win ODI at the Adelaide Oval. US President Donald Trump slapped sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called these energy sanctions very important for exerting pressure on Russia. EU leaders too welcomed the new energy sanctions against Moscow. On the other hand, Russian President Vladimir Putin directed drills of the country's strategic nuclear forces that featured practice missile launches. The exercises come as his planned summit on Ukraine with US President Donald Trump was put on hold. More details in our next report.
US President Donald Trump has imposed sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies on Wednesday for the first time in his second term. The new sanctions were unveiled one day after plans for a summit between US President Trump and Russian President Putin fell apart. Trump has held off on new sanctions for months, saying he hoped to persuade Russian President Putin to make peace despite growing frustration from the Kremlin leader. He also added that he hoped the tremendous sanctions against Russian oil giants would be short-lived.
Today is a very big day in terms of what we're doing. Look, these are tremendous sanctions. These are very big. Those are against their two big oil companies. And we hope that they won't be on for long. We hope that the war will be settled. I think that they'll certainly have an impact. They're massive sanctions. It's sanctions on oil. The two biggest oil companies, among the biggest in the world, but they're Russian. They do a lot of oil. And hopefully it'll push... hopefully he'll become reasonable, and hopefully Zelensky will be reasonable too.
Meanwhile, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who is in Washington, D.C., hailed Trump's efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict on Wednesday.
What can I do, what can NATO do to support President Trump's vision of ending this war, ending the killing in Ukraine, including what we can do to make sure that Putin accepts the president's view that the two parties should stop where they are. As he said on Friday and on Sunday, I totally support him, and we will see how we can do that.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on Wednesday the United States still wants to meet with the Russians despite the sanctions.
Well, we'd still like to meet with the Russians. We still want to, and I think I had a good call with Foreign Minister Lavrov, and we'll follow up on that. We're always going to be interested in engaging if there's an opportunity to achieve peace.
Separately, EU countries on Thursday formally adopted the 19th package of sanctions against Russia that includes a ban on Russian liquefied natural gas imports. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday hailed US and EU sanctions on Russia's energy sector as very important ahead of the EU summit. He also ruled out making any territorial concessions to Russia.
This decision of 19th package of sanctions is crucial for us. Thank you so much. And today it goes together with the yesterday's decisions of President Trump on energy, also sanctions package. We waited for this. God bless, it will work. And this is very important.
Head of the European People's Party, Manfred Weber, also welcomed the US sanctions on Russian oil, stating that now Europeans and Americans are stronger together. The sanctions involve freezing of all Rosneft and Lukoil assets in the United States, while barring all American companies from doing any business with the two Russian oil titans. Meanwhile, hours after the proposed meeting between US and Russian presidents was cancelled, Putin on Wednesday oversaw a test of Russia's nuclear forces on land, sea and air to rehearse their readiness and command structure. Bureau Report, DT India.
And for some perspective here, let's connect Akshay Dongre with us now. Akshay, what exactly do the US sanctions mean for the Russian oil companies involved here?
Well, clearly, Tanvi, as far as the profits are concerned, that the Russian companies are getting from the sale of these energy sources to European countries will drop down. Also, as far as the American sanctions are concerned, which means the many of the oligarchs there in Russia will feel the pressure because many of their own resources have been there. The investments have been there in US. So there will be some pressure, but it's not going to mean that they will stop doing business. They have other larger markets like China. There is a huge market in India. There are other markets in other parts of the world. So they will certainly feel the heat, but this is also a pressure tactic again by the US because clearly the US administration is unhappy with the fact that the talks that were going to happen that could have given some more credit to Donald Trump as far as this war is concerned in Budapest has been postponed, and it seems that the Americans are now pushing Kremlin to come back on the dialogue table and resume talks so that perhaps US President Donald Trump can claim another credit for stopping a war.
Okay. What effect would the US sanctions likely have on A, Russia's war effort and the war in Ukraine, and B, global oil prices?
Well, clearly, if the global oil prices go up, then it is going to be once again, benefit to Russia because their prices will remain low. They have many other countries that are buying their oil and other energy sources like China, that is the largest importer and one of the largest importer of gas as well as largest importer of the petroleum, the oil that's coming in from Russia. So there will be a dent, but again, the prices will go up clearly because the European countries have also started for looking at energy sources elsewhere. But it's, again, Russia is a huge country. It has relations with several other countries, so it is going to find a way out of this as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Akshay Dongre, for all those details and analysis. Moving on, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio is visiting Israel on Thursday. This will be Rubio's fourth visit to Israel since taking office in January. Marco Rubio said on Wednesday that the United States would still like to meet with Russia after US President Donald Trump cancelled his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Budapest, Hungary. Rubio also said that the Israeli Knesset's move towards the annexation of West Bank would threaten President Trump's plan to end the conflict in Gaza.
Well, we'd still like to meet with the Russians. We still want to, and I think I had a good call with Foreign Minister Lavrov, and we'll follow up on that. We're always going to be interested in engaging if there's an opportunity to achieve peace. I think the president has said repeatedly for a number of months now that at some point he will have to do something if we don't make progress on the peace deal. Today was the day he decided to do something. To vote in the Knesset, but obviously I think the president's made clear that's not something we'd be supportive of right now, and we think it's even threatening to the peace deal. So they're a democracy; they're going to have their votes. People are going to take these positions, but at this time, it's something that we think it might be counterproductive.
Rubio's comments at Joint Base Andrews came after the US imposed sanctions on Russian oil companies. According to the official, Rubio's visit to Israel will focus on supporting the successful implementation of Washington's ceasefire plan in Gaza. It follows the visits of U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jay Kushner to the country this week. According to a statement from the State Department, Rubio will be in Israel until Saturday, before then visiting Malaysia, Japan and South Korea. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance met with Israel's top leaders earlier, reaffirming support for a U.S.-brokered ceasefire plan to disarm Hamas and rebuild Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu voiced strong opposition to Turkey's involvement in Gaza's security. A joint U.S.-Israel coordination center is now monitoring the truce and aid delivery. With U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio set to arrive on Thursday, Washington, D.C. is stepping up regional diplomacy.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and other key officials are in Israel to support a U.S.-brokered ceasefire plan aimed at disarming Hamas, recovering bodies of hostages and rebuilding Gaza. As part of visit, Vance met with Israeli President Isaac Herzog and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Prime Minister said these are days of destiny, and we're very excited to sit down and work together on the Gaza peace plan. We have a very, very tough task ahead of us, which is to disarm Hamas, but rebuild Gaza to make life better for the people in Gaza, but also to ensure that Hamas is no longer a threat to our friends in Israel. That's not easy. I think the Prime Minister knows that as well as anybody, but it's something that we're committed to in the Trump administration, and I think we've, even in the past 24 hours,
Vance emphasized the challenge of improving life in Gaza while ensuring Hamas no longer poses a threat to Israel. U.S. and Israeli forces have opened a civil-military coordination center to monitor the truce and oversee humanitarian aid. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, however, signaled a strong opposition to Turkey's involvement in a proposed international force to oversee the ceasefire.
When it comes to Israel's security, we do what we have to do. That's always the case. That's not a question, but America has an interest in a strong Israel, as you just heard from the Vice President, and Israel has an interest in a strong America. America has other interests in this region. Where we can be flexible to accommodate that, that's good, because a strong America is in our interest.
The plan includes an international security force to maintain peace as Israel withdraws, though no U.S. troops will enter Gaza. Turkey's possible role in the force has sparked Israeli concern. Despite recent violence, Vance expressed optimism that the ceasefire will hold. Later, Vice President Vance also met with President Herzog to discuss the broader peace initiative led by President Donald Trump. Herzog expressed optimism while Vance acknowledged ongoing challenges but said he remained hopeful for lasting peace, citing support from both Israel and Gulf Arab nations.
And I truly believe that the fact you're here is another brick in building the future for peace.
Despite continued ceasefire violation and tensions over aid delivery and hostage returns, the next phase of Trump plan requires more difficult steps, including Hamas disarmament and progress toward a Palestinian state commitment that have yet to be secured. Bureau Report, DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. Donald Trump warns of very serious action against Colombia, calls Colombian President Gustavo Petro a bad guy. Petro vows to take legal action against Donald Trump. Dublin anti-immigrant protests erupt for the second night over Ireland's asylum policies. 23 people arrested. And King Charles to hold a historic prayer with Pope Leo at the Vatican today.
Indian industries are facing pressure because of President Trump's tariff threats.
Even tariffs are part of the story, actually. If you were to look at the whole story of the deindustrialization of India, it began in many ways under the British rule. They say, oh, It's not our fault. India fell behind because you missed the bus for the Industrial Revolution. My answer is we missed the bus is because you threw us under its wheels.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. The US military killed 2 alleged drug smugglers in a strike against a vessel in the Eastern Pacific Ocean, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Wednesday. The strike is the first known US military operation in the Pacific since President Donald Trump started a new military offensive against the drug trade. This attack has expanded the Trump administration's use of the military in its counter-narcotics campaign. This has led to at least 7 strikes in the Caribbean and dramatically raised US tensions with Venezuela and Colombia. The strike brings the total number to at least 8, leaving at least 34 people dead. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that the vessel was known by American intelligence to be involved in illicit narcotics smuggling and was transiting along a known narco-trafficking transit route carrying the drugs. US President Fader and his Colombian counterpart Gustavo Petro traded angry barbs for each other on Wednesday. Trump said his administration had the legal authority to carry out strikes on vessels near Venezuela that are transporting drugs, but the administration may go back to the Congress if it decides to start hitting targets on land. Trump also told reporters that he may take very serious action against Colombia due to its role in the international narcotics trade. Trump branded Petro a thug and suggested that he was a drug trafficker leading his country to ruin. He also called Colombian President Gustavo Petro a bad guy.
Well, he's a thug and bad guy. He's a guy that is making a lot of drugs. We've just, as of today, stopped all payments going to Colombia, the country Colombia. Also, the school Colombia. No, we settled. We made a settlement with him. But no, he's a thug, and he's a bad guy, and he's hurt his country very badly. They're doing very poorly, Colombia. They make cocaine. They have cocaine factories. They grow all sorts of crap that's drugs, bad drugs coming into the United States, goes generally through Mexico. And he better watch it or we'll take very serious action against him and his country. His country is, what he has led his country into is a death trap.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro, in response, announced that he will take legal action in the US courts after President Trump called him a bad guy and threatened serious action against Colombia over drug trafficking. In a post on X, Petro said that he would defend himself in court against the slanderous accusations made against him in the United States by high-ranking officials. The escalating tensions come as Trump told reporters at the White House that he was suspending all payments to Colombia due to its role in international narcotics trade. In mid-September, Trump decertified Colombia's counter-narcotics efforts, claiming that the country failed to meet its obligations over the past year. More from South America. Peru deployed military personnel across Lima on Tuesday following the declaration by President Jose Herri of the state of emergency aimed at curbing rising crime the day before. The government said the emergency decree includes measures such as limiting prison visits to once a week for ordinary inmates and once every 2 weeks for those under special regimes. Telecommunications equipment inside cells will be destroyed and electricity will be restricted to basic lighting. Herri led a high-profile operation at a local penitentiary, inspecting inmates and confiscated belongings. The visit was part of a broader crackdown on organized crime and prison control, which authorities say has worsened in recent months. The new president, who took office earlier this month after the ouster of Dina Boluarte, has made tackling crime a central priority of his administration. On to Europe now. Over 23 people were arrested as hundreds of protesters and police clashed for the second night in a row outside an asylum seeker hotel near Dublin. Police launched bricks and fireworks at protesters. The unrest followed at least 6 arrests after tensions flared at a protest at the same location, where a police van was also set on fire. The protests were sparked by reports that a 26-year-old man accused of sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl in the vicinity of the hotel was an asylum seeker. Authorities have not yet commented on the claim. Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin had condemned violent protests and vile abuse against the police. Also, the Justice and Home Affairs and Migration Minister said that more arrests will follow. Ireland and the UK have seen rising anti-immigration sentiment in recent years, with hotels housing asylum seekers common flashpoints for protests and violent riots. Next news from France. Louvre director Laurence Descartes admitted a terrible failure in the museum's security. Cameras missed the intruders and key areas were left unmonitored. Louvre director added that despite their efforts, they had been defeated. And he revealed, and it was revealed that she had offered to resign, an offer that Culture Minister Rashida Dati refused. On Sunday, 4 masked thieves had staged an audacious daylight heist using a crane to smash a second-floor window before fleeing on motorbikes with France's crown jewels worth around 88 million euros. The theft has sparked national outrage and humiliation. Now, Descartes vows sweeping reforms, upgrading Louvre's CCTV network, enforcing no parking zones, and calling for a police post inside the museum.
Nous avons une infrastructure, on peut le dire, vieillissante, qui ne permet pas, si vous voulez, de greffer des équipements modernes et de toute dernière génération en matière notamment de vidéo et de détection sur une infrastructure qui ne la supporte tout simplement pas. Nous avons aussi d'importants soucis dans on peut le dire, l'implantation des postes de sécurité au sein du musée qui sont vieillissants.
On to Italy now. King Charles III will meet Pope Leo XIV at the Vatican on Thursday and make history as the first head of the Church of England to pray publicly with the pontiff in 5 centuries. The 76-year-old monarch arrived in Rome on Wednesday with Queen Camilla for a historic state visit. This will include private talks and a service on conservation. The meeting marks a key moment in Anglican-Catholic relations since their 1534 split. The service led by Pope Leo in the Sistine Chapel will be broadcast live and feature choirs, and these choirs from the Vatican as well as from the Windsor Castle. Charles will also be made a royal confrater at Rome's Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls and will be given a special seat for him and the future monarchs. Back to Asia. Taiwan's defense ministry said it intends to deepen collaboration with the United States, including reciprocal visits and observation of military exercises to help maintain peace and stability in the region. The United States, like most countries, has no formal diplomatic ties with Taiwan, but is the island's most important international backer and is bound by law to provide Taiwan with the means to defend itself. Taiwan has complained of stepped-up military and political pressure from China. In a report to Parliament, the ministry said that the United States is an important strategic partner. Military interactions between Taiwan and the US are already close, including Taiwanese F-16 fighter pilots training in Arizona. Though such collaborations normally remain outside the public spotlight, given their sensitive nature. President Donald Trump on Wednesday defended demolition work at the White House's East Wing to make way for a ballroom. The full east wing of the White House will be torn down to make way for President Trump's new ballroom, despite Trump's earlier pledge that the project would not interfere with the existing landmark. Demolition workers began tearing down the section of the White House that holds offices for the First Lady and other staff on October 20th. The White House said that it would submit plans for the ballroom construction for review by the National Capital Planning Commission, which oversees federal construction in Washington and neighboring states, even though the demolition had already begun. The National Trust for Historic Preservation on Tuesday asked the Trump administration to pause the demolition until the Planning Commission review was completed. In Cameroon, the Constitutional Council dismissed all challenges to the October 12th presidential election, clearing the way for final results. The decision comes amid street clashes between security forces and opposition supporters. President Paul Biya appears set for an unprecedented 8th term, despite mounting allegations of fraud. The council rejected 10 petitions citing lack of proof, sparking outrage among opposition figures. Rival Issa Shiroma claimed that he actually won, accusing the council of betrayal and warning of public resistance if falsified results are declared. The government urged calm as protests flare across cities, but with Biya poised to rule into his 100th year, Cameroon stands at critical crossroads. On to the Oceania region now. New Zealand's weather agency has issued a rare red wind warning and officials declared a state of emergency in the Canterbury region. A powerful spring storm brought destructive gales and heavy rain to the South Island and Lower North Island on Thursday. Flights in and out of Wellington and Christchurch have all been cancelled. Some train services have been suspended and several government facilities like libraries have been closed. New Zealand's transport agency also shut several roads and significant power outages have been reported. A red warning is only issued in the most extreme events and people have been asked, where possible, to take shelter in safer places. And next we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Over 1,000 migrating cranes have died from bird flu near Linnem in Germany. Experts call it a serious outbreak, with other birds like geese and ravens also affected. The virus found is H5N1. Teams in safety gear are collecting dead birds to stop the spread. Officials urge poultry farmers to keep their birds away from wild ones and report any sick or dead birds quickly to help control the infection. In Queensland, Australia, turtle nesting season has begun at Monrepos Beach with the arrival of Old Girl, a 70-year-old flat-backed turtle. Rangers encourage reducing pollution and artificial light to protect the turtles, as thousands of them are expected to hatch in the coming weeks, with tours available from November to March to witness the nesting process. In Australia's New South Wales Central Coast, a grandmother and her grandson are working to revive the lost Indigenous Darkin-Young language and its place names. Meeting at a culturally significant shell midden at Pelican Point, they honour their ancestors and strive to restore the language as a source of pride and identity. And in Japan, Mount Fuji recorded its first snowfall of the season on Thursday, 21 days later than the usual, but 15 days earlier than last year. The Kofu Local Meteorological Observatory said that the snow resulted from clouds and cold air above the mountain since Wednesday. Last year's snowfall was the latest in 130 years, occurring more than a month later than normal. You're watching Did India News Hour, still to come on the show. Bangladesh's NCP party questions Election Commission's neutrality ahead of the upcoming elections. India's Kedarnath temple closed for the winter season with full religious ceremonies. And and Piyush Goyal visits Germany to enhance trade and investment ties. All that and more on the other side.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
There is something in Jharkhand for everyone. Welcome to a feast of experiences for your body and soul.
I've carried a memory of this place in me from my childhood.
From old world charms to new age excitement. From spectacular natural wonders to warm, friendly people.
Thank you.
Tune into nature with dense forests and wildlife.
कान मिला रहे ना, ये नॉर्मल है. जैसे ये कान खड़े कर लेंगे, एग्रेसिव हो जाएंगे, पूंछ सीधा कर लेंगे तो.
Make magnificent memories as you leave a piece of your heart in Jharkhand. Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a warm and cordial conversation with Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim. In a social media post on X, Prime Minister Modi extended heartfelt congratulations to Prime Minister Ibrahim on Malaysia's assumption of the ASEAN chairmanship. He conveyed best wishes for the successful conduct of the upcoming ASEAN-related summits under Malaysia's leadership. Prime Minister Modi also expressed his interest in joining the ASEAN-India Summit virtually and reaffirmed India's commitment to further strengthening ASEAN-India comprehensive strategic partnership. A new book tracing Prime Minister Modi's extraordinary personal journey from a humble childhood in Vadnagar, Gujarat to the Prime Minister's office has been released. The book, titled Modi's Mission, authored by renowned lawyer B. Desai, has been published by Rupa Publications. The book will be released by Maharashtra Governor Acharya Devvrat and Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis on 24th of this month. Modi's mission is not a biography but a story of an idea. Burjis Desai discusses Prime Minister Modi's emergence as an instrument of national awakening despite insurmountable odds and innumerable challenges. The book discusses formative experiences from Prime Minister Modi's childhood and youth that have shaped his socio-economic philosophy and his outlook on governance. The book exposes the falsehoods circulated by a section of India's intellectual elite about Prime Minister Modi to derail governance. Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal will be on an official visit to Germany from today to strengthen the economic and trade partnership. The visit will mark a key milestone in enhancing India's engagement with Germany as the year 2025 marks the 25th anniversary of the India-Germany strategic partnership. During the visit, Goyal will hold high-level bilateral meetings with German Economic Affairs and Energy Minister Katharine Reich. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry said that the discussions during the meeting will focus on strengthening the dynamic Indo-German economic partnership and exploring new avenues for enhanced trade and investment cooperation. Goyal will also participate in the third edition of Berlin Global Dialogue as a speaker. The ministry added that during the visit, a series of one-on-one meetings with CEOs of leading German companies will be held. Further, the minister will also chair a roundtable with CEOs and leaders of German Mittelstand companies. He is also scheduled to hold a bilateral meeting with Deputy Prime Minister of Luxembourg, Xavier Bettel, to discuss strengthening of bilateral trade relations. Earlier, on the sidelines of the 16th United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in Geneva, Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal held a series of high-level meetings to strengthen India's global partnerships in trade, innovation and sustainable growth. Piyush Goyal met with Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, Darren Tang, marking 50 years of India and World Intellectual Property Organization's collaboration and exploring opportunities in India's innovation and intellectual property ecosystem. Piyush Goyal also engaged with Director General of the World Trade Organization, NOEVALA, emphasizing India's commitment to a rules-based multilateral trading system and willingness to work with the World Trade Organization to expand global trade. The Commerce Minister also held discussions with Executive Vice President for Clean, Just and Competitive Transition, Teresa Ribera, of the European Union Commission, to discuss enhanced India-EU cooperation aimed at shared prosperity and sustainable growth. Further, Minister Goyal held discussions with EU Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security, Maros Sefcovic, focusing on the positive resolution of outstanding issues regarding the India-EU Free Trade Agreement ahead of the upcoming Brussels visit of the Industry Minister. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will address the second edition of the Indian Navy's Biannual Commanders Conference 2025 in New Delhi today. He will provide a perspective on broader national interests and the vision towards Viksit Bharat 2047. The three-day conference, which began yesterday, assumes greater significance in the backdrop of Operation Sindoor and Indian Navy's high tempo of operations and combat preparedness. The conference serves as a platform for close interaction with national leadership and bureaucrats and fine-tunes the Navy's outlook towards mitigating multidimensional challenges in the current geostrategic environment. The National Citizens Party of Bangladesh on Wednesday raised serious concerns about the impartiality of the Election Commission, calling for the entire body to be reconstituted ahead of the upcoming national elections. During a meeting with Mohammad Yunus, Chief Advisor of the interim government, National Citizens Party convener Nahid Islam alleged that the formation and current operations of the EC lacked transparency and independence. The NCP accused the EC of bias, citing preferential treatment of certain political parties in registration of the symbols and motivational support through administrative channels. The party further claimed that recent postings of deputy commissioners and police superintendents were influenced by political interests, thereby affecting electoral neutrality. The NCP demanded a clear timeline for justice pertaining to the families of martyrs and the injured in the 2024 July uprising, warning that without broader institutional reform, the electoral process would not be credible. On to India's north now. The doors of the Kedarnath temple were formally closed for the winter season on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. local time, following complete religious rituals, Vedic chants, prayers and traditional ceremonies. The process of closing the temple doors began early in the morning at 4 a.m. Indian Standard Time with special worship sessions. After the doors were closed, the Panchmukhi Utsav Doli, carrying the idol of Lord Kedarnath, departed from the Kedarnath Dham for Omkareshwar temple in Ukhi Math. The Doli of Baba Kedarnath, blessing devotees along the way, will make its first night halt at Rampur and the second night halt at Kashi Vishwanath temple, Gupt Kashi, before reaching Ukhi Math Omkareshwar temple on October 25th, where a grand welcome will be held. Lord Kedarnath will remain enshrined there for the next 6 months. And still to come on DD India News Hour. The India versus New Zealand face-off in the Women's Cricket World Cup at Navi Mumbai on Thursday has become a virtual quarter-final, awaits the action. India's first ever individual Olympic gold medalist Abhinav Bindra selected as a torchbearer for the 2026 Winter Olympics torch relay. And festivities continue in India with the celebration of Bhai Dooj, a timeless tradition celebrating sibling love, and also the upcoming Chhath Puja festivities.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back to DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Germany's economy is much more dependent on exports than most other top economies. So global trade relations are even more important. However, relations with the US have become difficult and it has led to major changes for the European powerhouse. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin on the story. Lars, thank you for being with us. What's the latest on Germany's trade?
Thanks for having me. Well, the big news is that after several years of dominant trade relations with the US, that country is no longer our biggest trading partner. It is now China. Now, that's not the first time ever, so it's not exactly breaking new ground or so, but it is a change after almost a decade with the United States as our biggest partner. So where does it come from, that title change? Obviously, US tariffs are a main part of the story here. US President Trump has obviously levied tariffs on a lot of countries, but Germany, one could argue, was hit especially hard, including with tariffs on German cars, long a bestseller in the United States, and actually a reason for the tariffs, even as Trump has often explained. He has often complained about many Americans driving German cars and not many Germans driving American cars. Trump saw this as a manifestation of a trade imbalance, and that's one reason that actually led him to his tariff policy. Now these tariffs have led to German exports to the US dropping by almost 8% since the beginning of the year.
That's huge. Thank you very much, Lars Holter, for all those updates. Lars Holter reporting from DW Berlin. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sporting action. First, updates from women's cricket. New Zealand has won the toss and elected to field in the crucial Women's World Cup match against India at Navi Mumbai on Thursday. The match has become a virtual quarter-final as the three teams have qualified for the semi-finals. The fourth spot is up for grabs and the winner of this match will move closer to booking the last spot in the final four.
India take on New Zealand in a must-win game in Navi Mumbai on Thursday, as the hosts face an uphill task to qualify for the semi-final of the Women's World Cup after suffering 3 defeats in a row. India started the tournament with 2 wins, but 3 defeats have put them in a tight spot. The team's narrow 4-run loss to England in the last match has dealt a significant blow. Now to reach the semi-finals on its own, they must win both remaining matches.
We were not able to finish it. We have had a very nice discussion about it with the team, and hopefully, going forward, we could finish the job and finish the games off. We always reiterate within the team that it's important to start well, but it's even important to finish better.
New Zealand has also had a poor start in the tournament. The team suffered crushing defeats against Australia and South Africa, while 2 matches were washed out due to rain, significantly hurting the team's prospects.
In a pretty much knockout game against India in India at a World Cup. So we're incredibly excited. We're obviously under no illusions that India is still the favourites, without a doubt, and we will wear their underdog badge with pride, as Kiwis often do. Yeah, but for us it is. We know the pressure that India are under at home, but we're just going to go out there and again control what we can control and make sure we stick to what we do well as a Kiwi side.
India and New Zealand have played 57 one-day internationals. New Zealand has won 34, while India have won 22, with one match tied. Meanwhile, the Kiwis seem to have an upper hand in the World Cup matches. A total of 13 matches have been played between the two sides. New Zealand have won 10 and India has won 2, and one was tied. Navi Mumbai experienced heavy rain on Tuesday, and the India-New Zealand match is also under threat. The pitch is considered batting friendly and produces high-scoring matches.
After 3 consecutive losses in the World Cup, India is in a must-win situation. And they face New Zealand, the team against whom they have the poorest win-loss ratio in the World Cup. Now it will be interesting to see whether New Zealand continues their dominance against India in the World Cup, or India manages to break the series of losses and the Kiwi dominance in the World Cup. With camera person Gaurav Giri, this is Suchitra reporting for DD India in Navi Mumbai.
And let's try and connect with Suchitra Bharadwaj joining us from Mumbai on the action. Hi Suchitra, India's victory today will close out the semis race early. A lot on stake for both the teams.
Well, Tanvi, you can see there's a lot of excitement about this match in the cricket fans. You can see the serpentine lines. There are a lot of fans to watch this match here, and they are queuing up here for the past 2 hours, and the match will start at 3. But the fans are really excited, and I have this little fan with me. Hi Ayana, tell us something about this poster and how excited you are for the match.
I'm really excited for the match. I love women's cricket, and I made this poster with the help of my mother. So we just stuck all the women cricketers for Team India on this and made this.
And this is a do-or-die match for India. It's a must-win match. What are your thoughts? So do you think India is going to win today?
Yeah, India. I think India should win because we've lost the last 3 matches and this is do-or-die. So if we want to go in the semi-finals, we need to win this one.
And who are your favorite players?
I like Harmanpreet Kaur and Smriti Mandhana. That's it.
So most of the fans, the fans that we talk to, there's a lot of craze for the skipper Harmanpreet Kaur and the star batter Smriti Mandhana. And this particular stadium, D.Y. Patil Stadium, was also the venue during the WPL, and it was the home ground for Harmanpreet Kaur and the New Zealand player Amelia Cade. So the Kiwi team is banking on Amelia Cade that her experience of playing in this stadium will help her and her team. And let's talk to a few more fans. So how excited you are for this match, India versus New Zealand match?
We are very excited and we are hoping that they will win the match. Yay!
India will win the match today against the New Zealand. So we are very much exciting for this moment. Okay, thank you.
I'll get you some more fans. Hi, how excited you are for the match and who is going to perform for India today?
Yeah, I'm very excited for the match. So let's see how it wins.
Yeah,
who is going to perform for India today?
Harmanpreet Kaur.
Smriti Mandhana.
Smriti Mandhana.
Or Harleen Deol also. Harleen Deol.
It's so really heartening.
And excitement for the match.
Yeah.
And the women's cricket, it's so delightful to see such craze for women's World Cup and women's cricket. And you can see the
long queue there.
Be a full house.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of support for Team India. And we just hope that Indian team wins this match in front of their home crowd.
All right, thank you very much, Suchitra. Really, it was heartening to see that poster. It was also heartening to see the craze of women's cricket there in Navi Mumbai, D.Y. Patil Stadium. Regardless of the outcome, women's cricket is definitely winning today. And now let's talk of men's cricket. Well, Australia made a solid start while chasing 265 runs for the victory in the second one-day international against India in Adelaide on Thursday. The hosts have reached 80 runs for the loss of 2 wickets in 17 overs. Earlier, Rohit Sharma hit a patient 73 as India posted 264 runs for the loss of 9 wickets. But fellow veteran Virat Kohli was again out for a duck. Shreyas Iyer was also impressive in a 118-run stand with Rohit Sharma. Leg spinner Adam Zampa was the pick of the bowlers with 4 wickets for 60 runs in 10 overs. With the hosts winning the rain-affected opening game in Perth by 7 wickets, they can clinch the 3-match series with a successful run chase. So it's another must-win game for India. So Abhishek Mahajan joins us live on the phone line. Hi Abhishek. So late cameos there lifted India to 264 for 9 against Australia. Do you think the total is enough to defend?
Oh yes, hi Tanvi. Batting wise, India in fact got off to a poor start. They lost Gill and Virat Kohli early inside first 7 overs and the score was just 17 for 2. But yes, Shreyas Iyer and Rohit Sharma, they rebuilt before Star got rid of Rohit and Shreyas Iyer. Eventually, India lost 2 quick wickets. Akshar Patel again, we have been talking about him a lot, chipping in with 44. But yes, crucial 9th wicket stand between Harshdeep Singh and Harshit Rana when India were reduced to 226 for 8. And because of that partnership of 37, India got 265. But you go feel for Virat Kohli, Tanvi, I mean 2 ducks in 2 innings, and that too in his happy hunting ground. Remember, Virat Kohli around 1,000 runs across formats here, 245 runs in one-day international cricket itself, 2 centuries here also in this format. A lot more is expected out of him, and third ODI will be too crucial for him. But yes, it's a power score, 265. Australia also got off to a decent start, although India got 2 wickets for 54. They are also on the rebuilding stage. Australia have got 80 odd. They are 92 for 2 in fact now in 17.5 overs. Wicket for India will be very crucial here.
Okay, we look forward to an exciting game there as well. Thank you very much, Abhishek Mahajan, for that perspective. Moving on beyond cricket now, India's first ever individual Olympic gold medalist Abhinav Bindra has been selected as a torchbearer for the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy. Bindra, who won the gold medal at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, was also a torchbearer for the Paris Olympics last year. Over a period of 63 days, the relay will cover 12,000 kilometers and make 60 official stops. A total of 10,001 torchbearers will take part in carrying the flame before it reaches the opening ceremony of the Winter Games on February 6, 2026 in Italy. The tournament will be held between 6th to 22nd of February at Milan and Cortina d'Ampezzo cities. This edition will feature 116 medal events across 16 disciplines. And now let's give you some festive spirit from India. India's Minister Hardeep Singh Puri and Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh participated in the Guru Charan Yatra on Thursday. The Guru Charan Shobha Yatra, carrying the sacred Jode Sahib of Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj and the Paduka of Mata Sahib Kaur, commenced from Moti Bagh Gurudwara in New Delhi. The Yatra is en route to Patna Sahib, where hundreds of devotees are expected to take part in this spiritual procession. The wait is almost over for one of India's most vibrant and soulful festivals, the Chhath Puja. As the sun begins to soften and the air fills with devotion, preparations for this 4-day celebration of faith and gratitude are in full swing. Starting October 25th, devotees will honor sun god Surya and Chhati Maiya through rituals like Nahai Khai, Karna and offering Aragya to the setting and rising sun. From decorating ghats to preparing thekua, every corner is glowing with festive spirit. And people across India are also celebrating Bhai Dooj today with great enthusiasm. The festival symbolizes sibling love and the beautiful bond between brothers and sisters. On this special day, sisters perform tilik rituals, offer sweets and coconuts and pray for their brothers' long life and happiness. So these Bhai Dooj festivals, these visuals coming from outside a temple in Ayodhya. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. News as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.